Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Would you like even more content? Here's my Patreon. Now onto the stories. Case file number 1089, written by Gandalf Rex. The mysterious disappearance of an entire IHOP. I was driving across the US and drove into Salt Lake City. For whatever reason, I got a craving for IHOP. So I punched it into Google Maps and followed the directions to a spot in the middle of town. I walk in and the place is empty. I don't mean like there were no customers. I mean there was literally not a person in the place. No waiter staff, no customers, no cooks, nobody. There was partially eaten food on all the tables, bags and purses in the booths. TVs are everywhere. Burgers on the grill slowly burning. And there wasn't a soul in the place, like they all just vanished at once. I was so freaked out I hopped in my car and drove until I hit the Nevada border before stopping to eat again. I still have no idea what the fuck happened. This happened at approximately 4 p.m. Stayed around 5 to 10 minutes before booking it. I thought it might have been a robbery too, but figured what robber holds up an IHOP and leaves the purses untouched? Like I said, I can't explain it. Calling the cops might have been a good idea, but on top of the fact that I've never trusted cops, a few days before I was pulled over by a Nebraska state trooper for a busted taillight, who used it as pretense to throw me in the back of his cruiser while he searched my entire car for a reason to arrest me. Was feeling wary of the blue after that. Besides, what was I gonna say? Some Lovecraftian crap is going down at the IHOP? Send backup. Case notes for file 1089. The mysterious disappearance of an entire IHOP. Yeah, this has Twilight Zone vibes indeed. It's the bags and purses and uneaten food that gives me the chills, and even like the burgers cooking on the grill that were burning. There's no reason to just leave that alone. It's not like everyone decided they had to go to the bathroom at the same time and the chef just decided, oh yeah, I'll leave these to burn, it's an emergency. I don't think that's the case. If everything was empty, including the plates or evidence of anyone else having been there, you could chalk it up to a weird but plausible slow business day. Maybe just one chef and one receptionist or waiter. But no, there were plates that had food in it. There was a burger on the grill. You can't explain that away in my mind. No one leaves their purses behind unattended, especially these days. So it's all down to the emptiness of it, no human beings present. And all I can think of is random death, and that you're in a temporary server transition point. So a holding zone, a buffer between your original real world and the one you're in now. And having driven to the state border, that's at some point between that, being in the IHOP and getting to the border, that's when you re-entered into a real universe where human beings are present. Sentient beings with souls. And you may have died on the road before even reaching the IHOP. The IHOP may not be related at all. I don't know if it caused your death. Like, there was some random booby trap that you entered into one IHOP in the original universe and there was a weight that fell on your head for some reason and then you're in the holding zone. Probably not. Probably you died while driving, which is much more frequent. Likely. Driving is rather unsafe. Be careful out there. Case file number 1090, written by Undersaur. I ignored a Reddit post about carbon monoxide and nearly died. On Reddit one night, I read that thread where the OP hallucinated weird stuff until a commenter suggested that he check for a carbon monoxide leak. The commenter probably saved his life. I went to bed thinking, oh yeah, I never did check whether my new house's smoke alarms also detect carbon monoxide. I need to check that out in the morning. At maybe 6 a.m., my wife and I awoke to our fire alarm screeching, with a recorded voice telling us carbon monoxide was detected. We grabbed the baby and the dog, piled into our car in the driveway, and called the fire department to check it out. After they tested, they told us no carbon monoxide was detected, but sometimes fire alarms behave unexpectedly when their batteries are low. This was maybe 5 years after moving into that house that's new construction, so yes, I was super delinquent in checking it. It wasn't even the first time I'd read that story. Anyway, there's absolutely a logical explanation. An improbable but possible coincidence. But that's how I ended up spending huge piles of money on a bunch of Nest Protect units, so I could at least get a pleasant phone notification when my alarm's batteries are low. Case notes for file 1090. I ignored a Reddit post about carbon monoxide and nearly died. Sure, perhaps a pure, raw, incredible life-saving coincidence. Those do happen. Somehow, I want to believe it's intentional protection from another willed entity. It fits more in my mind. Perhaps this is just wishful thinking. I mean, it's not fair to think we're all protected at all hours of the day and night. The fact that fire alarm in your home also had a voice recording is odd. I didn't even know they had that. And very interesting. Maybe newer models do, I don't know. The idea that it was willed protection is much more comforting. Although, maybe it was just coincidence. Who knows, really. Glad you and your family are safe, though. That's what matters. And yeah, in all these stories that I read, all these glitches, supernatural events, even the creepy ones, it's almost always positive, or at least not negative outright. Rarely do people just die or report someone else died, and of course, in those cases where they do, quantum immortality takes over, so the universe is kinda rather nice and fair and friendly, if you think about it. I mean, it can be difficult, but it's pretty decent. Yeah. Although there is survivorship bias too to account for, but still, I think we'll be okay. Bonus file, written by Suitology. Xylophone music in the middle of the night. When I was younger, we lived in a 110-year-old Victorian house. Everyone would notice weird things. I was home alone organizing the silverware when I dropped a fork onto the table only to have it bounce once and then fly at the wall like someone slapped it. I still have no idea how you can drop something straight down and have it launch horizontally for 5 feet. My parents, when they first bought the house, turned off all the lights, 5 floors if you count the basement and attic. My mom did the top 2, father did the bottom. They met in the middle, went to the first floor, left, got to the car, and noticed not only was the 3rd floor light on, but the blinds were now up. We had a seesaw. My mother turned on the light and saw it violently going up and down. I was in the basement and felt like a hand brushed down my back. I jumped and turned and saw no one there. I convinced myself it was just my shirt moving weirdly. As I went up the steps, I heard giggling. When I was older, I was sitting on the couch and heard my dad say, "What the fluck? Watch out!" Right before a frame puzzle we had fell on me. My dad said he saw it lift itself off the hook. We had a Mastiff, a Rottweiler, and a German Shepherd. They all refused to go to the attic. Our entrance had 2 sets of doors, the front doors, then a small room, then the second set of doors. We never locked those doors as there was 2 large bolts that went into the floor, and then a 3rd bolt that held the 2 doors together. Locking it was very hard with a key, so you could only do it from the inside with considerable force. We came home one day, and the door was locked with all 3 bolts. In other words, our completely sealed house was locked from the inside. My mother flipped, grabbed us, and ran to a payphone to call the police, because if the door was locked, then there was someone in the house, unless they left via a 2nd or 3rd story window. 3 cop cars came. They unlocked the door with my mother's key, and swept every last inch of the place down to one of them going into our crawl space. Nothing was there. Not only that, my mother's gold necklace was laying on the table, and all the windows were locked. We had a family friend who is a cop and one of my uncles who is also a cop come to spend the night. Next morning, everyone is up and my uncle goes to leave only to see that the door is again locked from the inside. We removed those locks that same day. Mastiff was lying next to me while I was watching TV. Suddenly, he jumps up and backs into me. He's growling and snarling while staring up at the steps. The other 2 dogs run in and immediately have their ears go back and their mohawks go up. This went on for several minutes. Our German Shepherd started inching towards the step and did a little lunge, nipping at the air, baring its teeth. About 5 seconds later, I heard what sounded like someone full sprinting up the steps of the 1st floor, from the landing to the 2nd floor steps, then the 3rd. I called my mom from the house phone. While on the phone, I heard what I can only describe as a wail from the 3rd floor. Years later, my parents are divorced, and I'm with my dad for the weekend. I helped him clean the 3rd floor. We put the toys into a large toy chest from the closet they were in. While brushing our teeth, I go pale. I'm hearing something, so I shut off the water and ask my dad to listen. We both are completely quiet. The sound starts again. It's a sound of clink, clink, but a bit of a rhythm to it. I couldn't place it at first, then said, "Dad, I think that's a xylophone." We go up and the toy chest is open and the xylophone is on the floor. Case notes for the bonus file. Xylophone music in the middle of the night. This is one of the more disturbing, haunting accounts, the collections of all these events that happened over your time spent there. I'd have been out of there in a day or two, even if I had to live in a tent. Especially after having cops stay over and finding the locks used again without anyone noticing a thing. Even in the realm of mundane, that would be deeply disturbing. Someone breaking in just to lock people inside, or someone like living in the attic. But you did say they searched the whole home, even in the crawl space, so I don't know where they would be hiding if that's the case. This is like a boiling cauldron of supernatural forces with all the spices and a lot of cayenne pepper mixed in. It's all acts of poltergeist activity. Not a place to live. Whoever's living there now, if it's still around. Yeah, I wish them luck. And now time for the quote of the day. Nothing gives one person so much advantage over another as to remain always cool and unruffled under all circumstances. Thomas Jefferson. Hey, founding father. Very wise in this case, for sure. The cool and calm as a cucumber. Now obviously no one is perfect. No one's going to, if there's the apocalypse coming, a meteor is about to hit us, well, yeah, you can panic. Everyone's going to some extent, right? But under most cases, the best choice, and it's hard to make it a choice. If it's natural, that's even easier for you. But the best course of action in any given scenario is to remain calm and think it through. Because our mind is our superpower. If we're in panic mode, we're not really thinking. We're reacting. We're operating on instinct. And we're not really able to think. So if there's an emergency, try to take a breath, try to calm down, and try to think it through if there's time to do that at all. That'll be your best course of action. And yeah, just especially in general life when it's not an emergency, don't suppress your emotions, have them, but have them as a complementary force to your logical mind that is thinking through what you need to do and what you can do to improve your own life or any given scenario or situation. The emotions are the spice that make life worth living, but if you only live on the spice, you're kind of missing the main dish. Let's go with that analogy. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.